Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cuz You Don't Know Football. Guys, last week was a crazy week. Did you hear me? Like, it was crazy, out of this world. And it was so crazy that now we have to talk about we have to switch up the flow of the whole show to encompass everything that happened. So I brought in one of my boys. I mean, you love him. Czar's going to be here, and we're going to get into it. Actually, I'm gonna just bring him on now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Czar. Czar, man, welcome back to the show, man. We missed you, cuz. We missed
Oh
you.
man, it feels good to be back, fam.
Listen. I just want you to know the audience was like, listen, this show sounds too smart. They said, who can you get on here to not sound too smart? And then you
Oh
said,
damn,
I could do the episode, Reek. And I said, yo, let's do this, cuz.
killing your boy, man.
No, I'm just playing.
I'm comfortable. You good?
Bro, last week was crazy though. Like last week was crazy. Like I was just telling them, like so much stuff happened last week. We got to revamp the whole show to kind of encompass everything that happened, and we're gonna figure this out. But we're gonna get to the bottom of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All right. So normally what we do is we pick the four or five games of the week, and we talk about them, and we talk, I mean, everything. But so much stuff happened. Forget that. We're just gonna get into this, okay? So there's like I feel as though there's like 9 or 10 games we could talk about, and I'm still gonna try to keep it as low as possible. But
Absolutely.
but let's start with that Saints Packers game. And by the way, if you got anything in terms of the team that you feel or like going forward, or if you feel like they is a wrap for them, or if you feel like yo, you keep an eye on them or whatever, or keep an eye on something, we could get into that too. But last week, Derek Carr, of course, the Saints went up 17-0, and then the Packers came back in with 18 points and won 18-17. Derek Carr, of course, got hurt. He went 13-18 for 100 yards and 103 yards and touchdown. James Winston came in, filled in. He went 10 of 16, 101 yards, no picks, no touchdowns. Not much on the ground. Chris Olave had 8 receptions, 104 yards. Not really much else over there, but Jordan Love was 22 of 44 for 259 yards, one touchdown, one pick. He also had about 40 yards rushing. Not much else on the ground, and he spread the ball around, but their leading receiver was Dubs. I'm not even sure who Dubs is, or Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs. That's who that is. Romeo Dobbs. So talk to me. What you think about that game?
There's two things to take away from this game. One, I think the Packers are reminding football that it's not the quick fix. It's about picking a guy, grooming a guy. Because Jordan Love's been solid. Like he doesn't make all the mistakes that a lot of rookies make. Because technically he's not a rookie, even though he is a rookie in a
Right.
sense. It looks like they have their franchise settled for another 10, 15 years to come. Um, the other thing to take from this is Derek Carr's second or third shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
James Winston, I get killed for saying this all the time. James Winston is a capable quarterback. He's thrown for 5,000 yards in the league. Um, Last year before he went down, he looked decent at times, but then sometimes he looks like a deer in headlights. Um, that injury is big, um, and Jordan Love might be the guy. I
Okay.
mean, like that's the only thing I
So
could take to.
right. So I'm still skeptical on Jordan Love. I've never seen a franchise ever get three straight quarterbacks right. And so, like, keep in mind, if Jordan Love is the guy and everything you said is right, this will be the first time this ever happened where, like, you had a Hall of Famer, and at least a guy who is like a solid starter. I don't think we're gonna go as far as Hall of Famer yet, but at least a guy that's a solid starter. So I've never seen that. So we got it. There's usually a gap in between something. So I'm still looking at him and saying this.
Yeah,
Okay,
but a lot of teams rush to replace that guy. But if you notice, Green Bay has a history of replacing a guy that is still kind of capable. Like Aaron Rodgers was expected to be a playoff player, a playoff quarterback this year. Brett Favre was expected to be a playoff quarterback when they went to Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Like when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, everybody wasn't high on Aaron Rodgers. When they drafted Jordan Love, it was literally the same exact situation. And both quarterbacks went to the same exact team, the Jets. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know if the
I thought that
super.
was eerie when that happened too. I'm gonna be honest
Yeah,
with you. I thought about that too. I said, for as much as he didn't like Brett Favre, he sure is like doing everything that he
yeah.
did. So whatever. But um, also in terms of Derek Carr and Jameis Winston, so like my like dark horse pick for this year was the New Orleans Saints. I looked at their defense and I said that defense is definitely a legit defense. I looked at their running backs, so they got Jamal Williams, they already had Kamara, and I said they had some ifs on their team. I said if Kamara is 80% of what he was, what we knew him to be, and if Michael Thomas is 80% of what we knew he could be, then they're a very scary team with Derek Carr. Now, I'm gonna
Yeah,
be honest.
I just want to say one thing.
What's up?
I was on the same shit you on, but just a completely different reason.
What
I
was your
said I said there was going to be a dark horse. They had a chance at the playoffs because they got the easiest schedule in football. Like I didn't dissect it that much. You look at their division, it's three teams that I can't really say anybody is better than anybody. All the quarterbacks are young.
Mhm.
They might have some talent on one
Yes,
side or
they
the other.
definitely have the best quarterback in their division this year. Yes.
He was
And
probably going
if
for
Derek Carr comes back and we wish him the best to come back fast,
yeah.
we'll have to say. Go ahead.
I mean, and as Jameis Winston as a backup, I still think he's more capable than the other guys. I when I saw their schedule and I saw how easy they had it, I said, you know, I could see them winning 9, 10 games just
Right.
based off schedule. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So the one thing that I did take away from the Saints from this game, I did feel like even with Derek Carr getting hurt and stuff like that, I think they should have closed this. They should have been able to close this game out, and I'm going to keep an eye on that because I just feel like you up 17, even with your quarterback going down. You just like you said, you have a capable quarterback coming in as a backup with Jameis Winston. I feel that they should have been able to, and I don't think the Packers they could. I mean, we're still looking at them and looking at them to see if they possibly are a playoff team. They're definitely better than we thought. I still don't look at them as a playoff team yet, but I feel as though they should have been able to close out a team like the Packers, and so I got to keep an eye on them.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Like, I don't like to agree with you. I mean, like, but
But
I,
it's all good. It's
yeah.
all good.
Even the broke clock is right twice a day. I mean,
It's all good. You know what I mean? That ain't hurt at all. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna move on to the next game. So for me, this is like the upset of the week. So we go into the Texans the Texans beating the Jacksonville Jaguars 37-17. Now the reason I think it's the upset of the week is because not that they won, it's a divisional game, we get that, but they handled the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I was getting word this like off season hearing that like Jacksonville probably is going to be like a number one seed. They're going to sweep the whole division, and they just got handled by possibly the worst team in the division. But let me read off some stats. CJ Stroud was 20 of 30 for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Not much on the running game. I'm not even going to go into that. But Tank Dell had 5 receptions, 145 yards, and a touchdown, and he probably like is like why they were able to put up so many points so fast. Trevor Lawrence was 27 of 40. Excuse me, 279 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Travis Etienne, 19 carries for 88 yards. And then Trevor Lawrence spread the ball around and he hit Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram he had the most amount of yards. He had 7 receptions for 67 yards. And then Christian Kirk had 4 for 54 for 1 touchdown. What do you think about this game?
I didn't get to look into this, but did the head coach for the Texans did he play while Peterson was a coach, like an assistant coach with the Eagles? Because I remember Damn, the head coach for the Texans is D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans had a stint with the Eagles.
Yeah,
So
I don't
like
know. That's a good question. I don't know.
I meant to look that up, but I have this sneaky suspicion that D'Amico Ryans has that familiarity with Coach Peterson, and that could be part of the game plan. And I mean, but me personally, I've always been a D'Amico Ryans fan. I've always believed he's like a defensive genius guy. Like so, like when this came out, I was surprised. Right? Don't get me wrong, I was surprised, but I also could see that happening, considering his experience and background. Like when D'Amico Ryan's got that head coach of the Texans position, I being a Ravens fan, I always love defensive players. I love when they get they get their they get their flowers.
Right.
And
Head
I
coaches
yeah,
start and everything.
yeah, and this surprised me because I I CJ Stroud is someone I want to see win, but I didn't expect him to win very much this season, especially this early.
Hmm.
But
So this was actually pretty shocking to me, even because the Jaguars are looked at to be a team. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team. What I'm saying is they're looked at to be a team that can advance far in the AFC playoffs. When you look at their roster top to bottom, they're more suited to they have less holes than most other people. Now, I know that they're not great everywhere, but they have less holes. When I look at the Texans, I really didn't look at this game and say, all right, this is where the Texans can exploit Jacksonville. That's what's so shocking about it, and the fact that they handled them. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure. No, I think Jacksonville need is. I think this is a humbling experience for them. So just for record, I've been on record saying I think CJ Stroud's going to be a bust. Just to let you know. I think this is something that's more of a humbling thing for Jacksonville, or maybe they're not enough. But even in this offseason, I said if Trevor Lawrence doesn't take that step, that leap forward, I felt like a team like I didn't say the Texans or the Colts, but a team like the Titans might be able to sneak up on them and make it interesting for the division for the AFC South.
so I looked it up real quick. Um, Doug Peterson was the Eagles quarterback coach in 2012 while D'Amico Ryans was there.
Okay, so he had some insight in terms of how he was going to play and stuff like that.
Yes, and him being inside linebacker, um, I would and to know the due diligence he puts into the game, I would venture to say he was probably listening in, watching the quarterback practices, things like that. So he was kind of prepared for what Doug Peterson has.
So I actually do have a rebuttal to that. So when you look at, for instance, like Bill Belichick, the assistants that he was with, or the assistants that he had, when they played back against him, they weren't very successful against him. And also, if you take it to college, with crap, why can't I think of Alabama's head coach name? You know who exactly I'm talking about?
Saban,
Nick
Nick
Saban.
Saban.
When Nick Saban, when his assistant, it wasn't until like the last 2 years where Kirby Smart finally started beating him because none of his assistants could beat him. So I understand and I agree that that does give you an advantage. I just feel as though I've seen situations where it's like that doesn't matter and I can just coach because I can coach.
So I think it's a little different because if you're my coach and I'm a player on a team, I'm looking to get something from you. If you're the coach and I'm a coach on the team, I have to perform to keep my job. So I mean, maybe I'm in the room getting some of that osmosis, but like I feel like it's a little different in the dynamic where a former player learning in a system that one of the coaches designed is gonna should by nature absorb more. You know what I mean? Like it's not a give situation. It's a give. He's giving information. I'm taking information, as opposed to when you're the head coach. The head coach might never speak to me if I'm an offensive coordinator. If I'm doing my job right, there's nothing for me to
That's
learn.
what I'm saying. That's basically my point. Like he was a player. Like when you played offense, you talk to the offensive coordinator, the person that you're not addressing the head coach. You're addressing the offensive coordinator about everything. That's the person, that's the culture of the offense. That's who you're voicing everything to. That's who you're relying on. When you're on the defense, it's the defensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator doesn't talk to the head. I mean, the defense does not talk to the head coach in terms of fixing what the problems are on the defense. It's the defensive coordinator. So him being a head coach, you know what I mean? Or even if he was a coordinator, because I'm not sure if he was a coordinator at that
No,
time.
he was a quarterback coach.
All right, so if
But
he's the quarterback coach, that's even still two different sides of the ball. Like when I was like in high school and in college, like I played defense. I never talked to the quarterback's coach. Never. I can't even tell you either one of my quarterback coaches' name in high school or in college. I can't tell you because I never talked to him.
yeah, I'm just saying when you get to that level, when you're that meticulous, you're going to take those extra steps. Like Ray Lewis in an interview one time said that he was such an impactful linebacker because he was a running back prior. You know what I mean? And because he was running back prior, he went to running back practices and he listened to the running back coaches because he needed to know every move the running backs was going to make. So I don't know. D'Amico Ryans has never said the same thing. I'm just trying to like when I saw it, I was like, yo, D'Amico Ryans used to play under him, and then
That's not
like
a bad point. That's not a bad point. So I am curious to see what happens with Jacksonville now and if they are because they had a lot of hype this whole offseason. And
yeah,
I was even like as somebody in the AFC South, I was like, yo, they're not that good. Okay. Like I think they're good. And I still think they're gonna win the division. I was like, but I was hearing so much, I was like, they're not that good.
I really like Trevor Lawrence. I like how he's
I
stuck
do
through the
too.
hard times. Yeah, I mean he was a winner in college and he didn't start winning right away in the NFL. And I'd like he's smooth, he's calm. He makes all the right throws, goes through all the progressions. Uh, Jacksonville's snake bit though. Like I mean I can't remember last time I remember them being good. Like um who was they running back? I can't remember Jacksonville being good. To be honest with you,
No,
like I
they've been good a couple times. So they was good a couple times with like David Garrard, you know what I mean? And then they were good that time when they lost to New England in the AFC Championship game when they had
that defense.
yeah.
They had
Yeah.
that defense,
And they
and
had
then
Leonard Fournette and they had but like Blake Bortles was their quarterback. I remember that.
yeah,
But yeah, that was really the last time that they were like good like that.
yeah.
So all right. So we're gonna move on to the next game, the blowout of the century. Yo, can I just say this? When I looked at the score, I was like, has anybody ever scored 70 in a NFL game? But it was in the 60s. So yeah, man, the Denver Broncos lost in Miami. The Miami Dolphins had 70 and they had 20. So at the beginning of the season, I actually picked Denver to go back into the playoffs. I thought that last year was more of a blip than a trend. And I like to say, I actually see no one gives me credit for this, but I like to say when I'm wrong. You know, so I was wrong here. They are now 0-3, and coming off of this loss, I'm like, there is no way they are not. I was wrong here about the Denver Broncos. Um, but just looking at some stats, starting with the Broncos, Russell Wilson was 23 of 38, 306 yards, one touchdown, one pick, and it never felt like he had that many yards anyway. Not much on the ground to talk about. Cortland Sutton had 8 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown, and Jerry Judy had 5 receptions for 81 yards and no touchdown. When I read them stats, it really doesn't sound like what happened. uh, Tua, he had 23 of 26 for 309 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. And what's this man's name? Devon, how you say Anche or
A shame.
Shane, excuse me. Shane, he had 18 carries, 203 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Raheem Mostert had 13 carries, 82 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And yeah, Cheetah, he had 9 receptions, 157 yards, 1 touchdown. And there was a couple people with 1 touchdown. And Anche, the same guy, had receiving touchdowns anyway. So he balled the fuck out, boy.
Third round pick, I believe. He's a third round pick from I I misspoke. Somebody called me on it. I said the steal of the draft was Jalen Carter for the Eagles, which I think he's you know he lost some stock for something that happened in college, but that is Shane boy, fourth round, like
Him,
playing like that.
what's that wide receiver? Pua or Pucha, the guy from the Rams.
Yeah,
Him too. He looks like, but no, this guy absolutely keep going.
200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I listen. I don't know what to say.
So he had 4 touchdowns this game. He had 4 touchdowns,
Yeah,
2 on the ground and 2 receiving. So when I look at this game though, the one thing that I'm thinking about is the overreaction. And I actually already see it coming. People are going to look at the Dolphins now and say, "Oh, they're a Super Bowl contender, and they're like the team to beat now." And I look at the construction of the Dolphins, and I already see the flaw in their construction, and I already see where they're going to lose. And I'm pretty confident where they're going to lose, how they're going to lose, and I feel as though we've seen this before.
so where's their flaw?
So they're very reliant on the big play. Everything's over the top. Their running backs are fast, and they don't, but they're not a grind out team. And Tua is I'm not saying he's flawed. He has a flaw. Everybody looks good. It's the same thing when he was at Alabama. Everybody looks good when you have all the talent, which he does. But when they figure out a system throughout this whole year, they're nitpicking and figure out what he's not good at and how they can slow that down and make him have to make decisions all the time off of what he's not good at. That's going to happen again. So you like Tua's doing this right now, but like you got to remember before Tua had Jalen Waddle or when Waddle was a rookie and before he had Cheetah, how were we looking at him? You know, he has this, and it's going to make you forget what his flaws are. And the NFL's figure is believe me, they're urgent. There's a sense of urgency to figure out what Tua is not good at, and they're going to put him in that situation eventually.
So here's my rebuttal to that, and it's going to be the NFL's own fault. The way you stop the Dolphins is you control the clock, you grind it down, you do it through running backs. Ain't nobody paying no running backs no more. Ain't nobody stocking no 2-headed, 3-headed monster. Everybody is going for the big hit plays. If you look at teams stacking these wide receivers, you got the Bengals with 2 wideouts, the Eagles with 2 wideouts. You have all these teams are stacking all this talent, but no one's stacking running backs to slow the game down. No one is stacking. No one has 2 corners capable of shutting down this tandem. But then we look at it even a step further. Their running backs are catching the ball. Their running backs are making moves. So like, on one hand, NFL teams don't want to pay these running backs, but you can't manage the game. You can't control the clock. You can't slow down a high flying offense. Like if you don't pay those players or you don't want those players on your roster because they don't have a long shelf life or whatever. I I can't see I mean, it's early in the season, and yes, there's no perfect game, there's no perfect whatever, but the way they're coming is too fast, too quick, and you might stop one, but you can't stop. This is like a 4 or 5 headed monster. You can't, and it's fast. Like he's not holding the ball. He's not. I mean, granted, he's not playing the greatest defenses in the league yet. He's not getting rushed. He's not getting hit like he was last year or the year before. But these wide receivers, they're not waiting. And maybe you need some corners to jam them on the line to give the DNs and the linebackers a chance to get to Tua. But these boys are so fast, like it's crazy.
So I can think of while you were just talking, I can think of a couple teams that have a formula to beat the Dolphins.
I can only think of one.
So I'm guessing that's Kansas City.
No,
So the Kansas City Chiefs don't have a formula to beat the Dolphins.
no.
Okay, so who are you thinking about?
49ers, the most talented team in football.
I'm saying I got at least 4 in the AFC.
Okay, let's hear them.
One of them is the Ravens. The Ravens have a formula. You said two-headed running attack. They are mostly a running team, and that will force them to get out of what they want to do or a shell and make those cornerbacks and your which call it has to come back. So he hasn't even played. I'm talking about uh what's his name for the Rams. He was at the Jaguars with the Rams.
Odell Beckham Jr.
No. I'm talking about the cornerback for the Dolphins because you had Xavier.
Okay.
You have what do you call? He's hurt right now.
Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey, and he's hurt, but he's got to come back. So you could easily. So I'm not saying easy, but you could. That team can get them out of what they want to do to play.
I'm going to stop you right there. I want to stop you right there. Lamar Jackson had a fantastic game against the Dolphins last year. We lost
last year. That was last year, bro.
No. But your game plan that you're trying to put in this year, yes. Like I think he put up 28 points or something like that, and in the fourth quarter we lost because I think they scored like 3 times in the fourth quarter on the speed. Like
I get that. What I'm saying is formula. They can run the ball. They can control the clock. Lamar Jackson can absolutely have a game where he's better than Tua Tagovailoa. That's not a cool.
I agree. With
that said, you have a defense that can take away the big play and make them have to grind it out, and that's not what they want to do, and that's what you want them to do. What I'm saying is, in that matchup, yes, that is a team that can beat the Miami Dolphins. Not only them, let's keep it going. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a formula that could beat them. They have a quarterback that can absolutely play better than Tua Tagovailoa. They have 2 running backs and they can grind it out. They have multiple weapons at the wide receiver position, and I don't like their pass rush, but they have a defense that can basically say, all right, let's just at least try to figure out how to make it hard on you. So I absolutely think, once again, Jacksonville can figure it out. Kansas City Chiefs, I don't even have to go there. I mean, they can outscore. They can score with anybody, in my opinion. Okay. And even on a little bit of a longer shot, and this is me even taking the Bengals out because I think this feels like a regression year for them. I don't know. This just kind of feels like that. So taking the Bengals out, I even look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and I say, well, where does Kenny Pickett kind of play? Absolutely. So if Kenny Pickett, as this year develops, if he's not the weak spot, well, you're gonna have a top 5 defense. You're gonna have a top 5 back. Like they always have wide receivers that you don't never know who they are. You don't know their name, and all of a sudden it's like you look up, he had 150 yards and 2 scores, and it's like, and they have guys that always figure stuff like that out. And I love George Pickens too, by the way. That's my guy. But
I mean, then I guess you got to throw the Eagles out there, and you also got to throw the 49ers. So
actually, I wasn't going to throw the Eagles out there this year. Next year, we might be able to have a different conversation. This year, I'm not going to throw the Eagles out there because I think it's very hard to replace your offensive and defensive coordinator. Have you seen what happened to teams when their defensive coordinator goes? It's like it takes the wind out of the sails. They did that on the offensive and defensive side. So I don't think this year is for. I think they'll be good. I think they'll be in the playoffs. They might be a 1 or 2 seed. I don't know, but I just don't feel like this is the Eagles' year. That's just how I feel. Nor do I think it's Dallas's year. You know what I mean? 49ers is another team. But like I said, I had like 4 teams in the AFC that I felt like, yeah, they have at least a formula there. I'm not saying it works just like that. I'm not saying Miami is the 5th best team in the AFC. I'm just saying on just formula alone, yeah, I can look at them and say there's about 4 teams that can beat them. It look unbeatable right now. But remember, keep in mind, this is what I mean when I say we saw this. The 2007 Patriots. They were big play, beat you over the top. They didn't even run the ball at all. And they had to go. And what happened? A team figured out, oh, this is what they want to do. This is how they're not going to do it.
You ain't gotta go that far. You go to was it the 2001 Rams, the greatest show on turf? Yeah, big play, and then a hard nosed team came and took the wind out of them.
Yup,
I get it,
yup,
I
yup.
get it, but I'm just saying it's gonna take. If they made it to the Super Bowl, and that's enough. Like
Absolutely.
we
But all I'm saying is when you look
Miami's
at
a playoff
the team,
team.
there's a formula to beat a team, and that formula is kind of dependent on they're not going to do something. And when I look at them, it's pretty obvious they're not going to try to grind it on you. It's big plays and it's big plays and it's big plays and it's big plays. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right,
So we got
let's get one more in. No, I'm gonna save that one till we come back. Let's get one more. Let's talk about the real quick, and we're gonna make this one a little bit quicker. Let's talk about the Eagles Bucks.
that was probably the if not the most important game is one of the four most important games of the week.
All right, why do you say that?
I say that because it was two undefeated teams, and the Eagles have been winning very ugly, very ugly. The offensive coordinator change is obvious. The offense is not in sync. They have the pieces there that they need, but my man Hurts is making a lot of mistakes that he didn't make last year. The Bucks had everything they needed but a quarterback, and I don't know how Baker Mayfield gets more chances than I don't know. He gets more chances than R. Kelly. I don't know how he gets all these chances, but he the boy always lands in a good position, and there's other people more deserving. Listen, R. Kelly should have been
They
locked
get
up in the
locked in.
90s.
No, I'm not gonna lie to you.
He should have been locked up in the 90s. I mean, but he made another 30 years with this criminal shit. But all I want to say is Baker Mayfield was starting to look like he was good enough to manage a team. And like I said, Hurts is not. I don't know if that shoulder injury is still lingering or whatever, but he's not looking like the Hurts from last year. And the pieces that they lost, I feel like they've replaced comparably. But this game was going to tell us: are the Eagles legit, like, or are these fucking Philly fans smoking something? You know what I mean? Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is kind of my point. When you lose that offensive coordinator, like, so the best option or the best situation where I can point to in terms of what I'm saying, look at Josh Allen's career. Josh Allen has always been a quarterback that's been up and down, up and down, up and down. He got Brian Daboll, and he was somehow consistent. And then it was like, all right, this is actually really scary because he's not making mistakes and everything he's doing is consistent. You take Brian Daboll out, and all of a sudden, for some strange reason, he's back to being up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's like it shows who you really are. Absolutely. So the Eagles are going to be a good team. And I really do feel as though they're going to be a good team in the future.
they
This
have everything.
year, this
I
year
think they had the best draft
they're
this
going to
year.
win early. I mean, they're going to win ugly, and I don't know if how far they'll really go in the playoffs. Like they gotta get a new identity on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. I just don't think people give that enough credit to say that they understand how hard that is. You
Yeah.
know. Now, in terms of Baker Mayfield, can we stop? Like, we know Baker, like even you said, like they're two undefeated teams. No, it's the Eagles. They were undefeated, and it's Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, they did what they did, whatever. But Baker Mayfield is still Baker Mayfield. He's still the guy that in Cleveland they somehow got better when they said you're going to throw the ball less and hand the ball off more. Okay, so I'm not going to act like he's not that guy. He's not going to turn into something. The only time I've ever seen a quarterback change teams and just be like play even better or play comparable to the quarterbacks in the NFL was Ryan Tannehill, and at the end of the day, he still got exposed when you thought he would get exposed. So I'm not gonna act like Baker Mayfield. This is two undefeated team. No, there's somebody they were better than them than you might have thought, but they're gonna regress.
I'm not saying I personally because I feel like you can always change your story. You can change like your mistakes you make or whatever. I feel like if you get in the right system with the right coach, it could work for you. And I was starting to think like, damn, do I hate this guy just to hate him, or is he really that bad? I mean, like to me, really, he is that bad. You mean, but
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
Eagles
Yes,
proved
he
that
is.
to me.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. See, I was
But
distracted, and then I came back when you said that. Yes, he is that bad.
all I'm saying is, you can have a bad guy, on in a good situation, and they can win. I, me personally, I don't know how you gave
Yes,
Baker Mayfield
but
Baker Mayfield a chance.
Baker Mayfield is like real bad. You know what I'm saying? He's real bad. Like you said, R. Kelly. R. Kelly is really talented. Like he's really talented. So give him credit. I'm not saying for everybody who's watching, I'm not saying anything about what he did or anything like that. He's really talented. Baker Mayfield is not. I didn't get when he got drafted number one overall. Why he got drafted? Because he doesn't have intangibles that are like, oh, that stands out. Like you should have drafted Baker Mayfield in like the third round, and you could have. But
Nah, cause
that's why he
these
get fired.
these teams was not like, all right, they would let Lamar Jackson slip to the second round, or like uh a lot of players slip, but when it's a dude like Baker Mayfield, he's exciting. Like Johnny Manziel, let's go get him. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know why Baker Mayfield's still in the league. You know what I mean? Like, but he still is. And he's getting prominent jobs. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy.
They put Baker Mayfield on that list of biggest busts of all time. Stop just talking about Jamarcus Russell, okay? Put Baker Mayfield on there because he was the number one overall pick and he's a bust. Okay, he's terrible.
He ain't a bust yet because they ain't give up on him yet. They got Johnny Manziel on that list. Johnny Manziel.
It was drafted 7 overall. Okay, he wasn't like Baker Mayfield was drafted with the number one overall pick. This is no, see, that's what I'm saying. With these GMs, this is why GMs get fired. This is why the NFL is always when remember we had a conversation about the quarterbacks, they pander to getting a guy in the quarterback position as opposed to getting the right guy.
Yeah.
They overdraft for people, and that's a mistake. And then when they're there, now they're like, oh, we have to pay him because he's, you know what I mean, a part of the culture and stuff like that. And it's like they totally ignore the fact that he's not that good. Okay. This is my problem with the NFL and the quarterback position as a whole. You don't need any quarterback. It is better to go through a couple years of having a terrible quarterback than investing big money and big years into the quarterback position.
I like you said that. Um, I'll hold it for the second part.
Say it real quick. Real quick. You got a minute. Go ahead.
I'm considered crazy because I think that the Vikings need to trade Justin Jeffries and give it to Kirk Cousins, because there's no need to hold Justin Jefferson's career hostage while you have this mediocre quarterback that's on his way out of the league, right?
I agree.
Most people tell me I'm crazy. You don't trade the number one guy. Like, you don't have, like, you got rid of the running back, you got rid of all the other receivers. They had a whole package and they got rid of everybody else there. You have one guy left, and now his stats are suffering because you want to hold on to him instead of trading him to get the draft picks you need to make a Super Bowl team.
And he
Like,
has high trade value.
exactly. You take Justin Jefferson and you send him to my Ravens. He could be our number one. We'll give you 5 first-round picks. I don't care. You can send him anywhere and get, you might end up in a situation like Dallas and get the 3 guys that'll lead your franchise forward. I have no idea why the Vikings are holding on to him. Like, if you let everybody else go, everybody else, like, that's abusive.
That's what I'm saying. People forget. People so stuck on names and saying you can't get rid of a big name. People forget that Herschel Walker happened. And if the Dallas does not trade Herschel Walker for all of that, they don't have a dynasty. So that's here nor there. That was a very good point. That was a very good point that you made about the quarterback position. And now, honestly, you sound a little bit more like me, man. And I think you should be a little scared because I just think you was listening or something, because that sounds like something I would say.
I do see that now that you say it, because you're always numbers before performance. But I think mine might be on the fact I was never a fan of Kirk Cousins. Like, I feel like the Vikings always miss it. And a lot of times they'll have a guy there that they just won't trust. And then they gave it all to Kirk Cousins. And he had a whole defense. He had several receivers. He had running backs. And he just ain't did nothing with it.
Listen,
Now they
I
keep
can
this
say
man
something to
out.
scare you. I can say something to scare you in terms of what I think about the quarterback position and what should I think should happen. I can say something to scare you.
I know you're going to say.
What am I?
You're going to say you got fired. We make too much money. Get
Nah,
rid of him.
you don't see it. You don't see it coming. Nope. Nope.
All right, go ahead. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I want to reckon I said this last week. I think the Cincinnati Bengals should trade Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase?
Yes. Because Joe Burrow's offensive line is that bad. And when you look at it, and I've said this to you in the past, you look at Super Bowl winners, top 5 wide receivers ain't really winning Super Bowls. But you know what is winning Super Bowls? Offensive lines. And you could build an offensive line or the pieces left that you need for that offensive line if you traded Jamar Chase. And I think T. Higgins is a he wouldn't be a top flight number 1 wide receiver, but he would be that kind of wide receiver like Doug Baldwin or somebody who you're like, all right, they're not great, but they're definitely good enough.
But you're gonna have to pay Higgins before you pay Chase. So I mean, you do get more back for Chase, but
You don't see the difference between T. Higgins' contract and Jamar Chase's contract and what they're going to demand based off of their performance.
see, I don't have that crystal ball because I never see these contracts going as far as they go. You know what I'm saying? Like T. Higgins doesn't deserve a huge contract, but will he demand a huge contract because the way the market is going? Yeah.
So, like for instance, like Christian Kirk for his first 2 years in Jacksonville was overpaid. Next year, his contract lightens up a little bit. So usually, so NFL players they sign a deal that's like it's an odd number, 5 years, 7 years, something like that. 3 years, you know what I mean? Where it's like it's either the money's front loaded or it's back loaded. So we either feel like we're in a Super Bowl window, so I need you to take a cut now, or you're gonna take a cut when we get into that Super Bowl window, and we're gonna know that you do that. T. Higgins contract, Kurt's contract, contracts like that are gonna demand that. Where Jamar Chase is gonna be like, you're gonna give me everything I want. You know what I mean? So I think he's trade bait. He's somebody you're gonna get a lot for. For Joe Burrow's career, I would rather him have an offensive line than have 2 borderline number 1 wide receivers and sorry offensive line because I'm about tired of seeing him getting thrown around anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
He's getting thrown around every week. Every week, this is bad. This is. I watched Andrew Luck. Okay, like this is bad now. This is bad. They should have fixed it and they can't.
there's one other thing you got to consider that though.
What's that?
They played college ball together. Like
I understand. I understand. And Tom
that
and,
friend,
and Tom Brady loved Wes Welker, and then he loved Julian Edelman, and he loved you know what I mean,
Randy
Danny
Moss,
Amendola,
and
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 he loved all of them. But they, what do you? I got to give him something that really secures him. And what secures a quarterback more at offensive line and wide receivers is offensive line, and I would make that move absolutely. But we gonna move on. So we got 2 more games we're gonna talk about. You want to talk about this Colts Ravens game, or you want to talk about this Dallas Arizona game first?
let's pull the band-aid off. Talk about my Colts, your Colts, and my
You
Ravens.
said it right. Listen, you said it. I didn't say that. America, y'all saw
My
what's
feelings
happening there.
hurt, but
Listen,
all
you
I'm gonna
come
say
on
is,
over, baby.
all I'm gonna
Come
say
on
is,
over. Come
all I'm gonna
on over.
say is, everything I've been saying. Everything I've been saying, Lamar's capable. He does everything that's asked of him and more. And his receivers let him down time and time again. We go get Odell Beckham Jr. And I said it. I like the fact that they're making the move. It's kind of like, you in a relationship
I told
and
you
your
Odell was
significant other,
over
your
there
girl,
too.
whatever, don't do
I
nothing.
told
Huh?
you Odell was over there. I said Odell is not going to be the thing that you think he's going to be.
I never said he was going to be. I said I like the fact that they're willing to show that they're committed. You know what I mean? Like that was
Show for the actual guy.
I would have preferred that they got Hopkins, but Hopkins became available after we picked up Odell Beckham Jr. Like it's like all the cards can't fall. Like if we would have got Hopkins, it's a different story. I mean, like
It's
Hopkins is Zay Flowers, huh?
possible. It's possible.
It's possible next year because Hopkins is gonna be. He's gonna be. He ain't staying. He's not staying. Not with them stinging up like that.
He's not staying. But I will say this. In terms of and by the way, I like Lamar, and I do think Lamar should have gotten paid. I think he's over the line of pay that quarterback. What I don't what I, one of the points that I will make to point to in terms of what I need a quarterback to do. Gardner Minshew had no business going into Baltimore and winning that game.
Yeah.
He even stepped out of bounds and got a safety. You know, did a Dan Orlovsky. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he should have. I do think I'm going to be honest with you. I do think my Colts defense is showing you what's up. I think Michael Pittman Jr. is showing you what's up. Even with and I've told you that even with Jonathan Taylor not wanting to play for the Colts anymore, I don't look at that and say, all right, because I feel as though we can get 2 more running backs, you know? That's really how I feel. So in the long term, that's what it is. But you made a point about Gardner Minshew and the problem with the Colts, and I wanted you to bring that up.
I like your Richardson. I like him as a quarterback. I never like when the backup quarterback comes in and plays well, wins games that he's not supposed to, starts a quarterback controversy, especially with an unproven rookie. And Gardner Minshew, was he ready to leave Jacksonville? Nobody knows. Played with Philly last year, did well in his 1 or 2 or 3 games. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of those guys, like, if I'm Tampa Bay, I would have picked Gardner Minshew over your boy Baker Mayfield.
Hey,
There's
mom,
like,
don't you say that to these people. Don't you say that to these good people. They ain't my boy.
yeah, I saw you with the jersey that time. You had
You ain't never in your life seen me with a Baker Mayfield jersey.
you had his college jersey on.
I ain't
He
never,
was real
not
big
one
on the
day.
back of that.
Not even his
He
high
was
school.
the Andrew Luck-ish quarterback. He was Andrew Luck-ish.
Don't you do this on this good platform right now. Don't you do this. I never said that.
Listen, I personally, I don't like when they muddy the waters like that. Like, I mean, no one expected it. You guys get a win. My team shit the bed. You know, we had receivers dropping balls in their hands on their numbers. Like, I mean, Lamar Jackson, I think he was the number 1 rusher in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
sure.
Oh my God, I don't know what to take from that. Like, hands down, that messed up my parlay too. I almost won quite a bit of money, but I gotta stay away from my team on the parlay.
I'm sorry we had
Lamar Jackson, 101 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns.
I'm so sorry I had to do that to you. But I want to address your point. If you remember when I brought you and JB on the podcast from before, remember I said me and you both said I didn't have a problem with Gardner Minshew starting and Anthony Richardson sitting. And JB made up the point about how Gardner Minshew never did anything. He never won a game, or he made some point around that. And I said I'm still more comfortable with it. Well, one, he just went into Baltimore and won. That's something. But 2, I never wanted to see Anthony Richardson's ass this whole year anyway. So this isn't a problem for me. Like, this doesn't disturb the future at all. Next year, trust me, Anthony Richardson is going to be starting next year. That's it. But my issue with him, hold on. Well, my issue with Anthony Richardson was his it was his mechanics. Why in his decision making? Why was his completion percentage in college like 50% instead of like 70%? Why was it when his intangibles are so crazy? Why when he's the fastest quarterback and he can jump the highest and he's 6'4" and he's big and he's 250? Why is he completing 50% of his completion percentage is 50%? Excuse me. I wanted him to sit down and work on his fundamentals to get that answer. And I feel as though if Gardner Minshew wins this week, if Anthony Richardson does not come back and Gardner Minshew wins, I think that's a good enough case to say, let's sit Anthony Richardson down and let's get those answers for him and keep the pressure off of him.
That actually puts more pressure on him.
No, it doesn't. Not to me. I mean, listen.
No, not to you, but
So,
you're
so,
a
so, so, so
you're
let me
a
ask you this. Let me ask you this. When Patrick Mahomes he sat that year and Alex Smith went to the playoffs and then he came in, did that add pressure to Patrick Mahomes and what he
no,
had to do?
but the situation is not identical.
Boy,
The situation is not identical.
go ahead. I'm listening.
Anthony Richardson, all right, Trey Lance last year, when he got injured and Purdy started winning, what happened to Trey Lance this year?
But Trey Lance is also one of the top. He put him on that bust list too. Him, Baker Mayfield, stop just putting Jamarcus Russell on that biggest bust of all time list. Give Ryan Leaf his name back. He's one of the biggest busts of all time.
Trey Lance ain't a bust yet.
Trey Lance is a bust with a capital B.
Oh my god, how's he a bust? He hasn't had an opportunity. He got injured.
The guy that was the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant in the draft, outplayed him.
No, he didn't outplay him.
They gave him every opportunity to win that job, and he couldn't do it. Whether it was health, whether it was ability, and ability did have a lot to do with it. He's a bust. He's not good.
All I'm going to say is they went with the hot hand, and they got what they got.
There's going to be more busts that's coming your way. Up next, you uploading Justin Fields. He's another one that's going about to be a bust too. Okay, bust.
I don't know. All I'm gonna say is this: Anthony Richardson, he started playing, and if Gardner Minshew starts winning, it's going to be a problem for Anthony Richardson, because then if you try to bench, let's say you guys make the playoffs or nearly make the playoffs, and then next year you try to bench him for Anthony Richardson. Every time you lose a game, there are going to be people calling for Anthony Richardson like that. That's why Gardner Minshew had to leave Jacksonville. Like you
but
don't.
I'm okay with that. So I'm okay with a second year quarterback with pressure to say you better be better than Gardner Minshew. But a rookie whose mechanics were a little flawed, I'm actually not. I'm actually more okay with Gardner Minshew showing being on the field and shining.
I understand that. That's the decision you make during preseason, not during the season. He's already played.
That's a flaw of my organization, and I'm admitting that's the flaw of my organization. But I said that in the summer. This is a flawed plan to play somebody who has mechanics issues and get his mechanics right. He gonna get a lot of experience. His thing was mechanics and how many games he played, experience. That was it. He's going to get the experience. I want to see his mechanics right. So I don't have an issue with Gardner Minshew shining. If he made a Pro Bowl next year, Gardner Minshew's still going. He's not going to make a Pro Bowl. I just want you to know that. But even if he did make a Pro Bowl next year, he's sitting down. Okay. And Anthony, and I would say it right now, Anthony Richardson better be better than him next year.
And if it's close, you're gonna have issues. That's all I'm saying.
It shouldn't be close. Then he should. If it's close next year, he shouldn't have been drafted number 4 overall. Because the top 5 picks, if you're gonna draft a quarterback, is for guys that we know this is how this is gonna go. So we're on the same page, actually.
I honestly feel like no matter where you're drafted as a quarterback, you probably shouldn't play until week 8 unless absolutely necessary.
We saying the same thing. We agree. Like, believe it or not, America, believe it or not, we agree. I'm just saying it in a different way. You know, my reasons for why we agree is a little different, but we agree. I didn't want to see him. I did not want to see him, not 1 second, all the way up. I've seen him for a game. We won the next 2 without him. He's a rookie. You can't depend on him.
You're right. You can't depend on him. But the problem is, I get that you're comfortable with it and you understand it, but your coaching staff already made one mistake. The chances are they're going to make a second mistake. You know what I mean? Like, you played him before he was ready. Now that you play him, you got to, like, this is like Kurt Warner getting benched for Eli Manning. Like Kurt Warner was winning. But
But
what did they do?
here's the flaw in what you just said. Eli Manning is a borderline Hall of Famer. He beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice. When you bench a guy for that guy, okay. So Anthony Richardson better be a guy that can advance far in the playoffs, who can, if you're gonna bench him, and that's the potential of why you draft a guy that high.
They're
What
both
I'm
they're both
saying,
Hall of Famers though. Like when you
what
bench,
I'm saying is,
you didn't know that when you
yes,
benched him.
and thus my second point. Gardner Minshew is not a Hall of Famer. Anthony Richardson better come back next year and be better than a guy that is not even he's not going to sniff. We're not going to have a conversation about him in the Hall of Fame. Nothing about that. You need to be better than that guy, Anthony Richardson, with the top 4 overall pick. If you're saying that's pressure, then I'll say, okay. I'm saying that's not pressure. You should just be that good if you went top 4 overall.
I'm not even saying that Anthony Richardson is not going to be better than him. I'm going to say is when he has a hiccup, and everyone has a hiccup, there's a sophomore slump, all that stuff, right? When he has a hiccup, there's going to be people calling for him to be replaced, and you already know every quarterback doesn't get multiple chances. That's all I'm saying.
Well, fan is short for fanatic. If like, you know what I mean, it's not somebody that's rational. I don't bring people on this podcast who aren't rational. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't bring all of these people on my podcast because we would sound stupid. So I get you're right in what you're saying, but there's a difference between what the masses would say and what the right answer is.
You're right.
And that's all I'm saying. So now we're going to switch up to what I think everybody else perceives to be the upset of the week. Dallas Cowboys. Can you explain to me how the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Arizona Cardinals 28-16?
Cowboys, they suffered. They had Diggs went out injured.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing I want to say at least 2 offensive linemen.
Sorry, I was just checking out the waves. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you can see.
And they got that guy. They got that guy Dak Prescott who kind of always shits the bed.
Get to that point. We about to get to that point right there. Keep going. Keep going, brother.
I mean, Tony Pollard came through and did what he was supposed to do. I mean, honestly, the receivers did what they were supposed to. I personally don't know how that defense that everyone was so high on performs like that. This was a shock to me because the Cardinals don't have a number 1.
Nope.
The Cardinals
may not have 3.
they're on a number 2 receiver. I mean a number 2 quarterback. I don't even know where Joshua Dobbs played. Where did he play college at?
Joshua Dobbs was it Tennessee? I feel like it was Tennessee.
Oh, right. I mean,
I feel like it was Tennessee, but I know he got drafted to Pittsburgh. But I feel like he played at Tennessee.
He did play at Tennessee.
And I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, and he started with Pittsburgh. He's a journeyman. Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh again, Cleveland, Detroit, Tennessee Titans, Cleveland, Cardinals.
Damn, I'm good. It is the University of Tennessee. I don't know if you can see that, but it's the University of Tennessee. I am good, baby.
Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not shocked because every year the Cowboys fans talk about how great the team is and how they got it all together, and then they do shit like this.
So once again, we were talking about them quarterbacks. Let's finish it off. Like I said, I knew the Cowboys weren't going to win a Super Bowl. And by the way, they're going to bounce back this year. They're going to look good. I get all of that. I knew the Cowboys weren't going to win a Super Bowl when they paid Dak Prescott $40 million a year. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I know their window closed, and it was no potential of it opening back up until that contract expired or they released him or traded him. It's not that I don't like Dak Prescott. He's a good quarterback getting paid great money. That's the problem. This is exactly what I'm saying. The GMs, they'll draft any quarterback just because they look good for a second or whatever. They'll pay any quarterback because they look good for a second or whatever. Dak Prescott's mechanics has always been bad. You remember the video when he was like throwing into like tires and stuff like that, and like it was a tire quarterback, and he was doing it, and he couldn't make any. Like he's always been this guy, and I'm saying he's good. He's a great leader. He's a great leader. He's a good quarterback in terms of what he can do. His accuracy is good, not great. His arm strength is good to great, but I wouldn't say it's great. His decision making from time to time. It kind of depends on how you look at that. In his command of the offense, I feel as though I don't think he'll be in a situation where he has more command of the offense, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt to say he has a great command of the offense. But you don't pay a good quarterback great money and it straps your whole roster because he's a guy who needs more. He's a guy that needs more wide receivers. He's a guy who needs more pass rushers. He's a guy who he just needs a lot more, and they're never going to get it. So they're going to drop a game like this, and we're going to forget all about it because they're going to go on this win streak, and they're going to try to make sure that we forget all about this. But come playoff time, we're going to get back to the situation where they're going to say, just like I gave you the same answer with Tua Tagovailoa, how do we stop him? Stop trying to act like I have to stop the wide receivers. Stop acting like I got to stop the running backs. How do I stop him? What doesn't he want to do? And I'm going to put you in that situation for 4 quarters, and you're going to break eventually.
I mean, I get all that. Dak had a decent game. I'm gonna blame the coaching staff for this one. Like, there's a lot of penalties.
No, I'm not
missing.
saying you're wrong. I'm gonna shut up after this. I'm not saying you're wrong, but what I am saying is when you pay a quarterback top money, top 5 money, that means you got to be a top 5 quarterback. I don't know another top 5 quarterback if we're talking about factuality, with their current team that's going to lose to this Arizona Cardinals team. I'm talking. You can add in offensive coordinators, defense, weapons, all that. If we're talking about a top 5 quarterback, they come into the worst. They come into the stadium of the worst team in the league, and they handle their business.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no exactly. There's no explanation. So yes, you could bring up the coordinators and you could bring up the head coach and you could bring up all of that. Top 5 quarterbacks do what top 5 quarterbacks do. That's why you pay a guy $40 million a year or top of the league money because he can carry the deficiencies of the roster and on the team. When he cannot, you do not pay him that much.
Yeah. But I mean, this goes into what you were saying because, like, how many offensive coordinators has he had since he's been there? Like, I feel like every other year they're changing offensive coordinator.
No. I think he's had 3. I think he had one when he was a rookie. Then he had the guy who's in playing with the Chargers now. I can't think of his name. He was just there like the last 4 years. He was a quarterback too. He went to BYU. Not BYU. He went to what's that blue turf school?
Boise State.
Boise State. Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore was his offensive coordinator for 4 years, and now he just got another one this year.
I feel like sometimes like twice in his career, his head coach took over the play calling at different intersections. I mean, like who his
So also while you're thinking about that, what top 5 quarterback can't change the play once he's able to read what's going on that defense? What guy can't say, all right, let me move into this because they have the ability to read defense,
right,
pre-snap and post-snap. So once again, all of these answers about, and I'm not saying that that's not relevant, but I'm saying that's relevant in the playoffs. In the regular season against the worst team in the league, I don't want to hear that you a top 5 quarterback where you're getting paid like a top 5 quarterback and you walk into the worst team in the league and you get smoked. 2 scores. You feel me?
You think Joshua Dobbs might be him?
He's absolutely positively and no doubt in my mind not him.
I think if he wins a couple more games, he might. My bad. I got to plug up my laptop.
It's all good. Joshua Dobbs may not win another game all year. That was it. That might be it. But that's actually a pretty good segue. So that was actually week 3 of the NFL season, and we're going to jump into week
Week
4,
4.
and
Yes,
we're
sir.
going we're going to get these games of the week, and we're going to make these picks for the games of the week, and we're going to talk about them on the next week's show. Realize this week we didn't even talk about last week's week picks of the week because it was just so much going on. Throw it out the window. Let's just start fresh. I feel as though every business and every entity should have the ability to pivot off of what they planned and it should still be successful. And I want to say thank you, brother, for allowing that to happen. So the Thursday night game, which is actually going to be tomorrow, we got the Lions Packers. Now, I'm going to say this again for those who did not hear me. Now, there's a post on it, but I'm not sure if you saw it or anybody else saw it. I picked the Detroit Lions to go to the NFC Championship game. That's how high I feel about and I said that in the summer before one play was played. I said Detroit Lions are going to the NFC Championship game. So the fact of the matter is the Packers are sneaky, and I don't think any of us know what they are yet. What if they're a team that could sneak into the playoffs, or what if they're a team that had a lucky 3 weeks and they lost once? Excuse me, they lost once and played two good teams very tough. With that said, I think this being a division game, a team looking at it and saying I play a team twice a year, and I know you, even if you are that team, I think this has the potential to be a really good team. And this game is in Green Bay. So who you
You know what? You pick the Lions just off the strength that you don't know football. I'm going with the Packers. I'm a ride with Jordan Love, my boy. I don't know nobody on his roster, but I feel like he's sat enough. He's learned enough. Maybe he's gonna be the first of this is gonna be the first franchise with 3 Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks. Like I wanna believe they know what they're doing.
Even you believe and you know what? Can I just say this because you said what you just said, and I really do believe you when you say you believe it. I want you to be right because I've never seen it, and because I know you, and you know what I mean, we boys, you know what I'm saying, we go way back, so I actually want that to happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
The Lions is stacked. I'm on St. Rod, the running back, they're nice, but it's football and anything can happen. And I feel like the bettors are going to bet with the Lions. It's crazy because the odds is only a 1.5. Some are at 2. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Packers.
Okay. So who's favorite though? The Packers should be favored at home, right?
No, the Lions are favorite.
On the road, they're road favorites.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, I got Lions, you got Packers. All right,
Yes,
so
sir.
next game. I think this is in London because it's at 9:30 in the morning. This might be one of those London games.
Yeah.
But we got the Jaguars and the Falcons. Now, normally when you first hear that, I know because I said it when I said it to you, you were like, "Why would you say that one?" These are two teams that could be in the playoffs. That it kind of like looks like it's shaking up that way. The Falcons in the NFC. Because after the division winners, the NFC gets real weak. You know what I mean? So they could be in the playoffs, and the Jaguars, of course, need to bounce back and get in the playoffs. And we're gonna speed this up a little bit, just a little bit, just because we gotta get through some stuff. So, who you got, Jacksonville or the Falcons?
I got Jacksonville. I like the comeback. I like Doug Peterson, and I like Trevor Lawrence.
Couldn't have said that any better myself, and I really don't like agreeing with you. So I actually do agree with that. All right, cool. We're gonna move along. We got the Ravens and the Browns. When I talked about the AFC North, for me, this now might be the greatest division of all time, because when I looked at this in the off season, I said if any of these four teams won the division, I don't think anybody that knows football would say. I don't think any of those people would say I'm completely shocked that that team won the division. However you spin it. But with that said, you got the Ravens in a bounce back week, and you got the Browns who looked good last week against the Titans. So who you got?
Absolutely 100% going my Ravens. There's one flaw with the Cleveland Browns, and I said it in the off season. The Cleveland Browns. I'm a Deshaun Watson fan. I want him to succeed. Um, the team has a ton of talent everywhere, but not anymore. After that injury 2 weeks ago, the run game is abysmal, and I feel like we can give them fits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with my Ravens.
I actually agree with that. I look at now if the Ravens won and Cleveland lost, then I probably would change my pick. But I look at how Cleveland looks. Teams that are good to great, but not necessarily great, they usually have a comeback to earth, and they spanked the Titans. Um, I like a hungrier team, and when the hungrier team is as talented, if not a little bit more talented, coming into the week, I like that team a little bit more. So I'm going with the Ravens. And finally, we have the Dolphins at the Bills. Now that's the game of the week this week. That's the game of the week.
Yeah, that
Now,
that is
go ahead.
that is the most important game in that division so far this season. That's gonna be that's division rivals, right? We have the 3-0 Dolphins, the 2-1 Bills. The Bills start off very slow,
Mm-hmm.
but they're gaining momentum. Josh Allen is starting to look like the guy they say he is, which I don't believe he is. I believe I got told you before. You said it's 6 teams that could do it, and I believe there are 6 teams that could do it. I don't believe there's 6 teams that will do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the Bills struggled against the Jets minus Aaron Rodgers. Like that's all I'm gonna say, dog. They struggled against the Jets minus Aaron Rodgers. The Bills, I just can't. I'm not. I won't say it. Like I'm gonna go with my Dolphins. They not my Dolphins. I had a roommate in the army, Pedro Lopez. He's from Miami, and he was a fan, even though they were the worst fucking team ever for like 10 years. Listen, I believe in the Dolphins.
I got you. So even when the season started, I picked the Bills to win the division, but I wasn't sure if I really felt like the Bills are just the best team in that division, or if I felt like that was safe, you know. So I'm
Yeah,
actually going back and forth with it. I do think no matter what happens this game, the other team is going to win the other game. But just to be contrary, I'll go with the Bills on this one. I think they could come in here and do some hushing and stop talking all of that. I mean, the Dolphins won 70-20. There's got to be some comeback to earth on this whole situation. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what that is.
I feel. What is the odds? The odds are the Bills are 2.5 point favorites. I think the Dolphins win by at least 10.
Okay, I disagree with that. So if that's what you said, then I disagree with that. Um, Dolphins might win, but I'm going to pick the Bills on this one just to be different, just to grind your gears a little bit over there. You know what I'm saying? Just to get underneath your skin. Um, all right, cool. Well, we got a couple minutes left. Give me both of your spread picks.
I'm gonna go. My spread pick is the Dolphins, and I'm gonna go with the. I'm going my the Packers and the Dolphins. They're giving the Packers 1.5 point
Okay.
at home. Um, I just think the Lions are going to be a Cinderella team. I do see why everybody's so high on them. But you gotta slip up every
I
now
don't
and
say
again.
everybody because I said it here first. Okay, I said the NFC
No,
Championship.
no, 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 no. That's not my spread. I'm going with my Ravens over the Browns. Ravens over the Browns. They're giving us 3 points. We're gonna win by 5. And I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. They're giving the Dolphins 2.5 points, but I think the Dolphins will win by at least a score.
Okay, okay, that's valid. All right, so I like to pick. I like picks that look a little different. You know what I mean? So first and foremost, the the Vikings are in Carolina and they're favored by 4. I think they're going to cover that, and I see them winning that game by like 10. So like I said, and this is the biggest. I was wrong, and I like to say when I'm wrong. I said the Carolina Panthers are actually going to be in the playoffs this year because I looked at the NFC and I said there's going to be a lot of teams outside of the division winners that aren't that good. But I was wrong here, and they're probably going to be in the lottery next year. So I think Minnesota's going to win by more than 4, but they're favored by 4 here. And also, just to wipe away because you said that they came in 2-0 with the Eagles. The Saints are at home favored by 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm saying they're going to cover that. They're going to win by more than 3.
I would believe that too, but
They're going to
it's
win by
Jameis
more than
Winston.
3.
It's Jameis Winston. If
Or
he don't got his contacts in, or I mean, like my man could be all over the place. Like,
beat them Dubs.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's eat them W's, and then they gonna replace your ass again. I listen, but I don't hate Kirk Cousins, but I don't think he's gonna do it. So I'll even take that Panthers game. Like, I
Okay.
I don't believe in Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
And now that you took his running back from him, like you're expecting more from him, but giving him less. I just then
They're
please.
playing a team that's probably going to be in the lottery though. You know what I mean? I'm saying lottery like it's the NBA. They're talking about a team that's going to be in the top 5 picks next year.
I yo I Bryce Young is in Carolina and he's not doing bad.
Yeah, he's
Like
not doing bad, but he has no weapons, and we got to keep that in mind when we speak about a rookie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like he's like a second year or third year or a vet or anything like that. He's a rookie with no weapons. Uh,
I he for a rookie with no weapons, he looks fairly good out there. And
he went to Alabama. In Alabama, he had big weapons. That's why he went number 1 overall.
yeah, I,
He went to the
that
complete
that's a
opposite.
segue I wanted to talk about too. Alabama has 5 starting quarterbacks in the league right now. That's unheard of.
And we got to wrap this up. I don't even want to hear about that. And we got to wrap this up. So once again, everybody, you can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Czar, man, I appreciate you coming on. But once again, bro, I gotta tell you, cuz you don't know
You don't know
football.
football.
You don't know football. Once again, bro, I love you. I appreciate you coming on, and we're gonna have you on again very soon.
All right, fam. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You already know.